Hey everyone. All right. Hey everyone. My name is Sid Lunala, and I'm here with Dave. Dave, you want to just give a quick introduction about yourself and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dave, better known as FBA Dave on Instagram, FBA_Dave, and I'm a bookseller. I've been selling books for roughly about 2 years now. In the past year, I've moved from cherry picking model into a bulk model. So my volume has increased like fourfold, actually maybe more than that, maybe more like tenfold. And that's what I do. I just sell a ton of books online.
Cool. Dave, can you talk us a little bit about how you got into reselling? Oh, actually, what were you doing before reselling? What did you do in your prior career?
So before I was reselling, I actually owned a auto mechanic garage. Okay, and I did that for roughly about 13 years, and then I migrated into selling books. Super different, I know.
That is a big change, right? So like, you're running a garage, and then how'd you make that shift? How'd you say like, okay, I'm gonna go sell? Like, actually, how'd you decide reselling, and then how'd you say it was books?
So I think one of the main reasons that people get into reselling period is due to having an additional source of income, whether it's a supplement or whether they wanted to just kind of migrate from a 9 to 5 to something like a reseller model. But for me, it was having the additional income, because at the time when I first started looking for more ways to make some more money other than the garage, I just had my first child. For all the parents out there, when you have your first kid, you start adding up like all the dollars, and you're like, holy crap, man, like this is a lot of money. So I knew that I just needed to make more. So then I experimented with reselling. And one of the first things was books. And I just kind of really stuck with it. Books really kind of called out to me. It was simple, it was scalable. So I stuck with it, and here I am.
Cool. Awesome, dude. So as a little input, I actually just had a baby like 2 months ago. So I'm going to a phase now trying to figure out like, what are the additional needs we have in our lives now? Thank you.
Yeah, man.
How old is your kid now?
So right now I have a 3-year-old and a almost 1-year-old.
Okay. And this is what you do for a living, right? You do reselling full time.
Yeah. So now I am reselling full time. I sell books full time. I have a 7,000 square foot warehouse that we do all our operation out of. And this is a full time. This is more than a full time thing. I'm personally having a hard time trying to keep up with the volume, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, it's good fun though. It's good fun.
So can you walk me through your journey? Like, how'd you okay, so you started with the part-time stuff. Then you said like, hey, I'm going to like do this full time. Were you like doing it at your house? Like, when did you get a warehouse? Like, can you walk me through that journey a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So a lot of this, to be honest with you, is really posted on my Instagram account. I use that as kind of like an internet diary. So for anybody that's listening that wanted to follow with a pictorial, you can always check out my Instagram account. So I started with realizing that you can actually sell books online for money. It blew my mind, by the way. Like I didn't think anybody bought books anymore. I was like, no way somebody would actually buy a book. But at that time, Barnes and Noble was still in existence. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. So I first started off, and I think I pretty much lost a little bit of money in the first 2 months. Like I had no idea what I was doing. Okay. And then starting month 3 and 4, I started getting better at it. And I started bringing books home from, various picking sources, and they would first go into my garage, and then there was the overflow. So then I went into my dining room table, and then my wife says, no more. so then I had to transition from the house to a storage unit. So I got one storage unit, and then the volume really started picking up. I think about 8 months after that, I had 2 storage units, and then I had actually 4 storage units going before I got my first warehouse. My first warehouse was relatively small. It was maybe about 1,500 square feet. And then not even 6 months that I got into my first warehouse, I had to cut the lease off and transition into my current warehouse, which is a 7,000 square foot warehouse.
Gotcha. Wow. So when did you like decide like, hey, this is going to be a full-time thing for me? Is it like when you started getting the same level of income as your other job, or were you just like, hey, I'm seeing some income, I want to make a jump? What was it for you that like, you're like, this is the change?
For me, it was the opportunity. So for a lot of people, I feel you need to have certain things in place, certain opportunities that present themselves before you can make that leap. Okay. So especially for reselling, because especially books, it's kind of like an investment. It's a bit long tail, so there's no telling when certain source is going to dry up. So for me, I had to make, well, I didn't have to, but I chose to make the leap because in 2020, I was actually able to lock down a very substantial bulk account, okay, which provided me with just an endless supply of the books that I need for money. So once I had that, I knew the well wasn't going to dry. So then I was like, well, the opportunity's here, the well is plentiful, so I'm going to go head first into it.
Cool. So how much do you do like in gross today?
So currently we are on pace for about 800,000 for the year for 2021.
Wow, dude,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And that was a huge jump, because in 2020, when I had a really small warehouse, and actually that only lasted for like maybe about 4 months, but in 2020, I think my projected gross sales was a little under like 120K. So
that's a huge difference.
Huge.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
big
amazing.
difference right there.
Mm-hmm. X growth, man. That's awesome. So that's awesome, dude. Congratulations on that growth. So
thank you.
What really kind of made the change for you? Is it like, it sounds like you figured out how to solve your sourcing problem, so you could just really crank up what you were doing and just, sell more things online, right? Is that it?
So you hear the term "more money, more problems," right? Mm-hmm. So having a supply is one, okay, and then you have to figure out all the things in between, and at the very end of it, the outlet, right? So, and I tell people that ask me this all the time. The book business is very comparable to a production type business model. Okay, you have raw material, and then you refine it to the final material to be sold, right? So there's multiple processes that happen in the middle of it. A lot of people don't realize, and they jump into, I'm going to get like huge, amount of books. And next thing you know, they're working like 200 hours a week, if you could even do that, just to make, $50 at the end of the week, and hopefully maybe a little bit more. So the process is super important. Okay. And that's what I've been focusing on. A lot of my, my colleagues would just constantly like get more sources, constantly get more books. But they're not really making the amount of money that they should be, because they're not refining the process that they should be doing to squeeze all the profit out of the raw material that they have currently.
Gotcha. So if you, maybe it sounds like, as you're saying, like, so you can get books from a lot of places, right? But if you're just not making money on, no point just getting more books. So once you figured out how to get like that, an unlimited number of books, basically, then you kind of really are focusing at the same time on your process, which helps you maximize the profit per book that you get.
Absolutely, the process. And a lot of times, because it's a production type business, and we don't have, well, at least when you're first starting off, you don't have a whole lot of machinery to automate certain processes. So then your highest cost is actually your labor cost, and it's not even your raw material cost, it's your labor cost that's going to eat you alive. So it's super, super, super important that you nail down, what it is that your employees need to do to produce the maximum results. And at first, you're not going to be able to capitalize on every little thing, and you shouldn't. Okay, you should always pick the lowest hanging fruit and then work from there. So currently, and this is kind of like my own devices, I have 7 levels of monetization. Okay, so as if you're dumping, a bucket full of stuff, I have like 7 nets that'll catch, and each net will catch different things to monetize it in a different way. And I think everybody should look at a bulk book business similarly. Okay, but you have to work on one net at a time.
Question there, like, you obviously create this awesome process. How did you decide, like, how did you learn to make this? Is it mostly like, were you watching a bunch of stuff? Or were you doing a lot of critical thinking, combination book? How exactly did you say, like, hey, this is the process we want to follow? And how do you focus on improving it every single day?
So I think it's mostly critical thinking for me and just trying new things. So there's not, besides surface level, there's really not a whole lot of resources out there, especially for more deeper bulk selling business models like myself. There really isn't. So I had to figure out a lot of things myself. I had to make certain, what do you call it, relationships, with vendors, et cetera, myself, and that solidify more doors. So those are the things that you kind of have to do. You just kind of have to try things out. Everybody does it a little bit differently. I do it in a way. So just to give an example, okay, a lot of my colleagues can go through, okay, we'll call them pallets of books, okay? Each pallet has roughly about, let's say for easy math's sake, 1,000 books. So a lot of my colleagues can go through, 20 pallets of books a week, okay? And my guys will go through maybe 12 at best per week, okay? But us going through the 12, okay, we monetize far deeper. So we are actually making more money with the 12, okay, without putting out the capital, okay, for supply, okay,
Wow.
than my colleagues would. You get what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so
You're
yeah, so
optimizing on
those are
the
the
value
things.
of each book, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's a very capital intense game that we're in, the bulk book business. Okay, it's very capital intense. So you don't want to spend capital if you don't need to. If you already have the material, you need to capitalize that the best way that you can. Okay, and really get that capital churning over again.
Gotcha. So, in terms of like how many books you guys get through, so can you describe like when you say 12 pallets, how many books on average, like let's say on a weekly basis, are you guys actually going through? And what do you do with the ones that you find out like are not worth listing online?
Right. So out of 1,000 books, okay, I would say 90% of the books are not sellable online. Okay, so that means only 10% of the books that we go through. Yeah, you're high amount of what we call duds. So 10% of the books are sellable online. So we sell it through, Amazon, eBay, and then also our own fulfillment process. Okay, so we do that, and then the other 90%. Okay, we monetize the other different levels that I have. Okay, to the point where right now I am actually monetizing roughly about 50%. Most of my colleagues are only monetizing about 8% of a particular pallet. So out of 1,000 books, right, they're only like monetizing 80 of them, where I'm monetizing about 500. So that's the major difference.
Dude, that's crazy. So like you're saying, because like that's intense. Like it's basically a bulk of the stuff you get, you're not able to sell online. And so as a business, you're like, okay, well, I can't do eBay only. I got to figure out other ways, or Amazon to eBay. I got to figure out other ways to monetize. And so you've basically been figuring that's awesome. Because like even for for other people that are like selling clothing, there are a lot of stuff that you get that you can't sell. But the point is that if you're able to find other avenues to sell this stuff, that's how you can actually maybe increase that, optimize the ROI that others are not necessarily able to get.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and you need to do that. You need to do that because, like I said before, it's such a capital intense game. Your cash flow will completely fall off and die. 6 months into it, you're going to look at it like, why did I get into this? I'm not making any money. It's because you're not thinking about the cash flow. Cash flow is king. Absolutely, 100% in this business, cash flow is king. In any given circumstance, if something will make you $1 today, you grab that dollar. Okay, so that's how you have to take a look at it.
Gotcha. Cool, man. So I guess last question from my side, what's next for you? What are you doing next? How do you get, what brings you to the next level?
So currently I really want to hit that 7-digit mark. It's the 7 figures. I want to hit that million in sales. It's kind of like a personal check off for me. I've been putting a lot of time, a lot of capital into this business. It's my first year actually in the bulk model. So it's been a lot of sacrifices on my end in terms of business, selling my other business for this, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to see the 7 digits. Okay, that's validating for me. And then I really want to grow this into kind of like I don't know, maybe I might be happy with maybe about 5 million. 5 million. Yeah, I'm okay with 5 million. Because I say 5 million in sales, but the profit margin is actually very different. And of course, the more you scale up, the more expenses you have as well. Okay, but right. I do want to create an employment opportunity for a lot of guys. I have great employees. Like I just want to put that out there right now. My guys are diamond. They are like cream of the crop. Okay. And I want to keep them, I want to make them happy. I want to be able to provide for them and their families, but in order to do that, we need more revenue for the company, right?
Gotcha.
So that's what I want to create. I want to create good workplaces for the guys. The guys that work for me, they also, they love books. Guys and girls, I should say. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to create a very solid foundation of the company. I don't think I want to go into like, IPO or anything like that. That's not my thing. I just want stable income, good company, million, right? Great place to work for. Yeah, just 5 million. I'm fine with 5 mil. I am absolutely fine with 5 mil. Look, if I could do 5 mil and keep 1 mil for myself, I'm good with that.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. It's solid, dude. I love that. So I love that vision, right? One question I am going to ask you, you guys are cream of the crop. It sounds like you got really good people. How do you find people? Because like the labor market's super tight right now, right? And it's hard to find good people, right? What have you done that's enabled you to find good people?
The best people that I have found was actually at the supermarket, believe it or not. And some people ask me like, how do you start your hiring process? And how do you find your people? And the two people that stayed the longest with me, I found at the supermarket. And what I observe is that I see them all the time. Okay, like these guys, I see them all the time. I see them doing the stocking. Like I don't see like this begrudging face on them. They're just doing their work. Basically, you want to find the quality of somebody that is a hard worker. That's just gonna show up, right? Okay. So that's number one. Number two is you gotta hire people, okay, that are going to mesh well with number one, okay, your personality, because that's where it starts, right? Okay, you being the boss, you're gonna have to hire somebody. You need to find somebody that's gonna mesh well with you. Okay, it doesn't matter what they know. Okay, it doesn't matter how hardworking they are. If they don't mesh well with you, sooner or later, okay, they're gonna leave. Okay, and you're gonna be stranded. Okay, so that's super important. So then once you have your first couple of employees, you're going to want to start hiring people that mesh well together as a group. Okay, so then you start creating a company synergy, right? Everybody gets along. Everybody orders the same thing for lunch. Everybody has a good time, plays magic card, whatever they do. I don't care, right? But that's how you keep stable, long-lasting employees. Okay, and you want to explain the company vision to them. Everybody wants. All my guys here, they have full access to all the company numbers. They want to see the company do well. They do. They almost feel like they're a part of it because they are. They help build this whole place up, and every one of them, they really want to see this place do well. So I think quality of character is the most important thing in terms of hiring. Okay, you can teach everything else, but if you don't have a quality of character, you're just asking for tough employment times.
No, that's a great tip. Like, I mean, we actually, like, in the companies that I've run in the past, for the one I run now, we also look heavily for quality of character. We believe like a lot of the skill sets you can just teach if the quality of character is there and they gel. I mean, they gel with your leadership style, right? That's when it works out the best. One question, just a clarification question. When you said the grocery store, are you literally talking to the people that are working there? Is that like, how you're like, and what do you say to them? You're like, hey, like, hey, I have a company and I'd love to like talk to you about it, or how's that work?
I'm trying to remember. It's been a couple of years now because my guy's been with me for like 2.5, 3 years. So I think I went up to him and I said, what did I say? I said, do you like books? If he was like stocking, I think it's like tomatoes or avocados or anything like that. I don't remember. He's probably like, what? Oh man. No, I think what it is like, you go in and I do talk to them and I catch people off guard all the time. I'm kind of awkward when it comes to that, but it's more like an experimental process for myself in terms of talking to people. I really like doing that, being able to just be more open with people. And I say hi to people a lot and it's like good morning to complete strangers and they look at me with like super funny faces and stuff like that. But I just open up to people and I just talk to them and I ask them, how are you doing? Are you happy here? Would you like a different opportunity? Do you like books? I ask that a lot. I ask, do you like books maybe about 5 times in the conversation.
Gotcha. Okay. That's cool, man. That's awesome. That's impressive, actually. Like, just, because it takes, it takes, I think, a little bit of guts to go out and just talk to random strangers and be like, hey, like, come work with me, right? But it's a good way to find people because you already know they're vetted. Like, the grocery store's already vetted them. And so, they're like working hard, right? So.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you want to keep an eye out though. If you're for anybody listening, that's actually going to go to the grocery store. Okay, it's not a one-shot deal. Okay, you don't go into the dairy aisle, be like, all right, I'm going to hire myself an employee today. You don't do that. You go constantly so that you get the familiar faces of people that you see. You're like, oh, you know what? That guy or girl over there, like I see her all the time, and all the time, same time, always doing the same thing, always have good work ethic, basically, is what you want to observe, and then you can open up.
Gotcha.
You can say, hey, I see her all the time. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Cool, man. Any last tips for resellers out there that want to get into the business?
Take it slow. I know I move pretty quick, but I also have a lot of business background behind me for it. But I think for anybody that's starting off, especially if they want to start off with books and really transition into the bulk warehouse type of model that I have, you got to learn all the numbers every step of the way. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't know their numbers. They completely destroy themselves because they don't know what number matches what, what books are going to be profitable, or even how long before they receive said profit. Okay, and then they demolish their cash flow. Next thing you know, they're like a year in, and they can't pay rent, and that's really sad. I would like to not see that happen at all. So know your numbers, know the business type, and do all the due diligence you can. Because when you start off small, all your mistakes are small, right?
Gotcha.
So you can always recover from that. But when you cannot recover from signing a 3-year lease, at $10,000, a month, you're not going to recover from that, right? So make your small mistakes.
Gotcha. No, cool. Very good input. So one last time, what's your Instagram handle again? If anybody wants to reach out or they want to follow you.
Yeah, Instagram handle is FBA_Dave.
FBA_Dave. Cool. Love it, man. Hey, thank you for your time. Great talking to you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Take care.